Good morning, my fellow dirty gardeners. I'm Irene, the Dirty Dragon. I'm going to show you today what I do with bratty plants, the little bitches that don't behave. So what I mean by not behaving is those that don't thrive. And in my garden, I am of limited patience for that bullshit. So I'm going to show you what I do with plants that don't thrive in my garden. Hang on a sec. So it's just the early spring now, late March, and I like to go through my garden pretty much every day just to check up on stuff and see how things are doing. But of course it doesn't matter what time of the year. Things aren't thriving, they're not thriving. And so when I find things that are not thriving, for example, this little dude here is not doing well. This is a, what is it, macadamia? Or Maginia, I can never remember. This pathetic little, this is an actual perennial here. Elizabeth Killalay, primula, not doing very well. Things like that are not thriving, I have two solutions. One, this is where they go. Oh yes, they retire forever and become food for the next generation of plants. Ain't got time for that. They're just not fucking doing anything. They go in the compost. It's it. That's just it. Second solution, if I care about the plant and if I think that there is actually decent potential for them to come back, I will pot them up, take them out of the garden because they don't fucking belong in my garden if they're not performing. There is no fucking space in my garden for little bitches that are whiny. So they go into either the timeout corner, which is on the other side of my property there, or the rehab center, which is in the corner. They're both the same thing, really. The timeout corner and the rehab center are pretty much the same thing. They're just different locations. And what I do is I look at what the problem is. If it's a matter of what the soil was like where they're growing and not suitable for that particular plant, I'll adjust the soil, keep them in the pot, let them sort their shit out. If they don't, compost. I give them maybe a full season or so if they're meaningful to me. If they start to decline, compost or garbage. If it's like a fungal issue or like a disease of some kind, garbage. Don't put them in the compost if they're like really sick. You know, like that's just, don't even bother trying if it's like a disease that's like really degenerative because then you risk spreading it to your other plants. And having dealt with Hostavirus X in the last couple of years, you don't want to risk infecting your other plants. It's so devastating. So I will put things into pots. I will let them have their time out. I will let them think about their behavior. You know, I'll give them a certain amount of time. I will address any issues that I see that I can possibly address, like nutrition, conditions that they might be in, not enough drainage. I'll check the roots and make sure that there's, you know, no issues with bugs eating the roots or, you know, like for whatever reason they're just not doing well down there, the nether regions. I'll clean all that up and I'll put them over there. And then I just leave them be. Okay? The princesses, they all go and chill out over there in the fucking rehab center, you know, and once they get their bullshit sorted, if they do well, if they recover, they can go back in my garden. But in a better place for them, somewhere that will be more suited to what they need. Sometimes when I buy things, I plunk them in the ground in a place that I think will be appropriate. And for whatever reason, it doesn't work for them, you know, and so they're divas. Some plants are divas. We all know this. But I don't have a lot of tolerance for that. So attitude is not welcome here. But if they behave and they get their shit together, I'll take them back out of the plant, out of the pot, and I'll put them back in the garden. But I just don't have any room for bitchy plants. So I'm going to go through here and just show you some bitchy plants. Hang on. So granted it's early in the season and things usually fill out, but just for context, thriving, not thriving. I don't want to leave that in there. That's an eyesore in my garden. And I mean, mind you, everything looks like an eyesore right now because it's friggin' March. But you know what I'm saying. You know, like as the season progresses, this little guy has to come out of here because I have better things to put in here that will thrive, like this. Like it's literally like maybe, what, 16 inches away? Doing just fine. There's another one doing just fine. So it's not that the soil is bad. It's just being a bitch, little whiny bitch. So that one's going to come out and get put into a pot, and it's going to be put in timeout to consider, you know, the attitude. Okay, here's another one. It's actually starting to behave a little bit. I guess it just it's been hearing me bitching about it for a while now, but this is an azalea that I've had in the garden for probably 2 years now, and it's never done shit. And I have very healthy azaleas and rhodos all through my garden. So this one is just being whiny. So I'm going to pot it up and I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to give it a trim, loosen up the roots. The roots are not looking that great right now, so I'll give it a good soak and probably feed it and just leave it alone for a while. And if it's not going to get its shit together, I'm just going to turf it. It's just not worth it. Whiny little bitch. Alert, alert, alert. So I planted this in here thinking maybe it would do really well and just sort of take off, and it's fucking not. This is a daylily, and granted it's a baby. Okay, so that's all fine and good, but I don't want it claiming any space in a garden where I could put things that will really show off. So I'm going to pot this little bitch up and give it a couple years to mature, and then if it starts to do well, I will put it back in the garden, and it shouldn't be a problem. But in the meantime, I don't want it, like, what a waste. I just don't. No, just no. So rather than having an eyesore in my garden, I pot them up. Anything that doesn't look like it should, anything that doesn't look like it's, you know, happy and flourishing, and I have so many plants in my garden that look good. I'm not gonna waste garden space on stuff that's just, you know, fucking around. So I pot it up. I put it in the rehab center or the timeout center. Address the problems and give it about a year, depending on whether I really, really like it or not. Or it goes in the compost. And that is how I deal with bitchy little whiny plants. Okay. Good luck to you in your gardening, and don't put up with that shit. Peace out.